Hey everyone, so it's been a while and there have been some updates to the Zenfone 9 on improving the system and optimizing the cameras. So now I think it's the best time to talk about my experience using the Zenfone 9 here 4 months later, and I have to say the Zenfone 9 is the nearest to perfect smartphone I have ever used by far, and here are the reasons. If you really like compact smartphones, the Zenfone 9 is one of them, and I personally really like small phones as they are pocket friendly, and of course using one hand is easier on smaller phones. I really like the Zenfone 9 flat design with the two big camera lens at the back. Some people also ask me about the Zenfone 9 cause they really like how the Zenfone 9 looks, although some have mistaken it for an iPhone for some reason. By the way, this is one of those phones where you can live without using a phone case thanks to its texture material on the back. And this phone is rated for IP68 water and dust resistance, but I still put on the case for extra protection. The only issue that I could think of is the two big rear cameras making using the phone flat on table a bit wobbly. As for the front, it's just the screen with the selfie camera on the top left. The selfie camera does have this silver ring on the outer layer which can be distracting, but it didn't really bother me that much so far when I'm using it. I might as well cover the display right now. This is a 1080p Super AMOLED display with 120Hz adaptive refresh rate. It's not top notch unlike other flagship that comes with a Quad HD display, but the 1080p on a 5.9-inch display size is more than enough, and you still can have a great time watching videos on the Zenfone 9 thanks to the dual stereo speakers, which the sound quality is great and they are loud for its size. There's also this Audio Wizard app which allows you to tune the sound quality to your preference. What makes this phone even better, unlike most flagship phones nowadays, is the inclusion of a headphone jack, despite the limited space. I know that wireless headphones are convenient, but to me, I prefer wired headphones since they do provide better sound quality and they are more affordable than wireless headphones. Plus, having both options to use is always great. The Zen UI, which is pretty much stock Android with some features added by ASUS, including their own apps which you can uninstall if you want. Recently, my Zenfone 9 just received updates to Android 13, and there are some nice improved features, but there isn't anything new to the Zen UI from what I can tell with my experience so far. There are a lot of gesture features built inside this phone, with the first example being on the power button, which they call it as the smart key, which is also the fingerprint scanner. Double pressing it opens any app that you have assigned for it, and swiping it down pulls down the notification bar. There's also a double tap shortcut gesture at the back of the phone, but you have to tap it harder to trigger it consistently. Other features that I didn't find myself using yet, like one hand mode, which basically makes your screen fit for one hand use, and Edge tool, which acts as a quick shortcut to your apps. In games, you do have the Game Genie, which allows you to customize your gaming experience to your preference. And of course, there's 5G network support on this device if you want faster internet speeds. The features that I really like the most is the battery care system, which contains a lot of settings to preserve your battery life, like the steady charging, which toggles your phone charging speeds, scheduled charging, which adjusts the charging behavior based on the schedule that you have set, and setting a charging limit, which I personally use it for days when I know I won't use my phone a lot. I might as well cover this Connex accessory. which is a phone case with interchangeable phone stand and card holder. The phone stand in particular has this feature where it will automatically open any app that you assign when you open the stand, and that's about it. Personally, I don't think it's worth the extra money to get this Connex case, as you can get other phone case that work similarly at a cheaper price. And that leads us into performance. And the Zenfone 9 packs the power efficient Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. Together with the improved cooling system, you can ensure that your phone won't get overheated when playing for long sessions. Well, at least for the games that I have played so far. If you want to learn more about the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, I would highly recommend you to watch this video made by Geeker1 in breaking down each flagship chipset in detail, which I will link it down in the description if you are interested to have a look on it. On top of the performance, my unit comes with 8 gigs of memory and 256 gigs of internal storage. But there are two more configurations, with one having less internal storage and the top range having double the memory size. Coupled with the power efficient chipset together with the 4300 mAh battery inside this phone, the battery life is just simply amazing for this size. I mean, you can try to drain the entire battery within a day, but the last time I used the Zenfone 9 for the entire day by constantly using it for 10 hours doing my thing, and it still have more than 10% left. If you are using it casually like watching videos and playing games a bit, it can last up to 2 days without charging. This phone charges and takes an hour from 20% to full, which is not the fastest, but still decently fast, and the 30-watt adapter is included in the box. Now let's cover the cameras. While you only get 2 cameras on the back, both of these cameras are great. Particularly, the main camera does have gimbal stabilization, and it's supported in all camera modes except for portrait mode. While the ultra-wide camera does have autofocus, meaning it can take macro shots as well. There have been a few updates since the first Zenfone 9 review that I have released months ago that optimizes the camera's processing, and as a result, the HDR processing isn't as aggressive as before, as photos look more natural and there's less over sharpening. When it comes to 2 times digital zoom, the software does its tricks in making the photos look more sharper, and I guess it does a pretty good job in making it usable up to 4 times with digital zoom. There's a 50 megapixel camera mode as well, but it's hidden inside the camera settings, which I wish Asus will add this into the camera mode interface sometime down the road. The ultra-wide camera remains the same as before, which is great since it doesn't have issues to begin with, and you can take macro shots up to 4 cm away from the subject. As for the selfie camera, the photos taken look great since it does have autofocus to focus on the subject. I'm not really into taking selfies, but it does a pretty good job overall. You can shoot videos up to 8K and 24 FPS on the main camera together with the gimbal OIS and EIS, but the footage that you will see is all recorded in 4K, and the footage look great, coupled with the video stabilization that makes every movement felt smooth like butter. The ultra-wide camera is able to record up to 4K at 60 FPS with EIS, and the footage look great, while the stabilization does a great job despite it's only EIS. When it comes to video recording in no light condition, they look good, and while there's visible noise and loss in detail on the ultra-wide camera footage, they are still decent and usable. This is how the selfie camera looks like in 4K 30 FPS, and this is how it sounds like by default. And this is how it sounds like with wind noise reduction, and this is how it sounds like with audio HDR. So do let me know which audio do you think is the best. So the Zenfone 9 is sort of a great rounder, and on top of that, it's priced at a reasonable price at around 3,300 Malaysian Ringgit for my configuration. I did speak a lot of great things about the Zenfone 9, but it does have some downsides that I have to mention, like no telephoto camera, no wireless charging, and no micro SD card expansion, which is more of a trade-off given the size of the Zenfone 9. But what I have a tough time to accept is you only get 2 years of software and security updates, which is the lowest in terms of years of support. If there's one thing I would like to see is ASUS extending the years of support or security updates for the Zenfone 9. Considering what they have done this time is incredible, and of course people like me want to use their phones as long as they want. I won't mind if they just plan to increase years for security updates only because that's what keeps the phone safe to use in long term. With that said, I will still highly recommend the Zenfone 9 because of what it's offering. There just isn't many options when it comes to getting a compact smartphone crammed with flagship hardware. I don't really know what to say other than kudos to the engineers and designers from ASUS for managing to put them together into a compact size smartphone while having a few trade-offs that I think it's worth it. If you do want to get yourself the Zenfone 9 here in Malaysia, you have to buy it from an online retailer, which I will link it down to the seller page which I bought my Zenfone 9 from down below the description. As for repairability, I did contact ASUS Service Center and they said they can do repairs or parts replacement for the Zenfone 9. Making this review also makes me appreciate smaller brands like ASUS and Sony for still keeping these fundamental features that were absent in most flagship smartphones nowadays. I mean, the Zenfone 9 doesn't have the micro SD card slot, but if you ask me which to choose, I will pick to retain the headphone jack any day. But of course it would be great if you can retain both and just add more features into it. But this is just my thoughts as this is my first flagship phone I ever owned. So let me know what you guys think of it, and until next time, thanks for watching.